to the unsung heroes of America's heartland. Chapter 1: The Quiet Mornings. Harold Jenkins rose with the sun, as he had for most of his 72 years. The old alarm clock on his nightstand buzzed at 5:30 sharp, though he hardly needed it anymore. His body knew the rhythm, etched in from 40 years on the assembly line at the Ford plant in Detroit. Back then, it was the clang of metal and the hum of machines that pulled him from sleep. Now in Maple Grove, Iowa, it was the soft chirp of sparrows outside his bedroom window. He swung his legs over the side of the bed, feeling the familiar creak in his knees. The house was too quiet these days, ever since Martha had passed 2 years ago. No more smell of her frying bacon in the kitchen, no gentle nagging about his socks on the floor. Just him, the ticking clock, and the faint scent of dust in the air. Harold shuffled to the bathroom, splashed cold water on his face, and combed what was left of his gray hair. He dressed in his usual faded blue jeans, a flannel shirt, and sturdy boots that had seen better days. Breakfast was simple: black coffee and toast with strawberry jam from the farmer's market. He ate at the kitchen table, staring out at the backyard garden where tomatoes ripened under the September sun. By 7, he was out the door, walking the 3 blocks to Dottie's Diner on Main Street. The town was stirring, farmers in pickup trucks heading to the co-op, kids waiting for the school bus with backpacks slung over their shoulders. Maple Grove hadn't changed much since Harold was a boy here in the 1950s. The same red brick buildings, the grain elevator towering like a sentinel, the American flag flapping lazily over the post office. "Mornin', Harold," Dottie called from behind the counter as he pushed open the door. The bell jingled, and the aroma of fresh coffee and sizzling eggs wrapped around him like an old blanket. "Mornin', Dottie. You betcha it's gonna be a warm one today." He slid onto his stool at the counter, nodding to the regulars, old-timers like him swapping stories about the weather and the Hawkeyes' last game. She poured his coffee without asking. "Same as always. Over easy with hash browns." "You know me too well." Harold smiled faintly, stirring in a spoonful of sugar. As he ate, he listened to the chatter. Talk of the harvest coming in, how the corn was looking tall this year. It reminded him of his pa, back when the family farm was still theirs, before the auto jobs pulled everyone east. But underneath the routine, a hollow ache gnawed at him. His kids, Sarah in Chicago, Mike out in Denver, called once a month, if that. Grandkids sent pictures on that fancy phone app, but it wasn't the same as holding them. Harold wondered if he'd done enough, if the long hours at the plant had built a life or just worn it down. Chapter 2: The Garden's Whisper. After breakfast, Harold headed home to tend his garden. It was Martha's pride once, bursting with zinnias and roses. Now he kept it going for her sake, weeding the rows of beans and carrots with a hoe that fit his calloused hands like an extension of himself. The soil was rich and dark, smelling of earth and rain from last night's shower. He knelt carefully, pulling thistles, his mind wandering back to the old days. Summers in the 1950s, riding his bike down dirt roads, fishing in the creek with his buddies. No worries then, just the endless blue sky and the promise of tomorrow. A pickup rumbled by on the street, playing Johnny Cash on the radio. Harold hummed along. "I Walked the Line," remembering how he and Martha danced to it at the county fair in '68. She'd worn a yellow sundress, her hair in curls. They'd married young, right after he got back from basic training, before Vietnam called some of his friends away. He straightened up, wiping sweat from his brow. The VFW meeting was tonight down at the hall. He'd go, share a beer with the fellas, talk about the war without really talking about it. But even there, he felt like a shadow fading into the background. As the sun climbed higher, Harold sat on the porch swing, sipping iced tea. A letter from Sarah lay unopened on the table, probably just updates on her job, the kids' school. He missed the old family gatherings, the way his pa used to tell stories around the dinner table about the Dust Bowl, how the family scraped by on nothing but grit. Lately, Harold felt like those stories were all he had left. His best days, gone with the plant closing in '08 when they shipped the jobs overseas. Retirement was supposed to be golden, but it felt more like rust. Chapter 3: Echoes of the Past. The VFW hall smelled of stale coffee and polished wood, the walls lined with faded photos of men in uniform. Harold arrived early, helping set up chairs. Bill Thompson, a Korea vet with a limp, clapped him on the back. "Good to see ya, Harold. How's the garden treatin' you?" "Fair to middlin'. Them rabbits are fixin' to eat me out of house and home." Harold chuckled, the sound a bit forced. The meeting dragged on. Pledge of Allegiance, minutes from last time, plans for the Veterans Day parade. Afterward, they lingered over cards and stories. Harold listened to tales of Normandy beaches and Pacific Islands, thinking of his own draft deferment for the factory job. Essential worker, they called it. But sometimes he wondered if he'd missed something bigger. Driving home in his old Chevy truck, the radio played Simon and Garfunkel. The Sound of Silence. The lyrics hit close. "Hello darkness, my old friend." Back in the house, he flicked on the lamp, the quiet pressing in. Upstairs, the attic door caught his eye. He hadn't been up there since moving back 5 years ago. On a whim, he climbed the creaky stairs, dust motes dancing in the flashlight beam. Boxes of Martha's things, old tools, a trunk from his parents' house. He sat on a milk crate, staring at it. What secrets did the past hold? He didn't open it, not yet. But the seed of curiosity planted itself deep. Chapter 4. The Trunk's Secret. Rain pattered against the roof the next morning, a steady Midwestern drizzle that turned the streets to mud. Harold skipped the diner, brewing coffee at home instead. Restless, he eyed the attic stairs again. Why not? Nothing else to do on a day like this. He hauled the trunk down to the living room, its leather straps cracked with age. Inside, a jumble of mementos. His ma's quilt, yellowed newspapers from the '30s, his pa's dog tags from World War II. At the bottom, an envelope sealed with wax, addressed in his father's shaky hand. "For Harold, when the time is right." Heart-thumping, he slid it open. The letter was dated 1985, a year before Pa died. "Son," it read, "I've carried this too long. Back in the Dust Bowl, when we lost the farm in '35, your grandpa hid what little we had left. A deed to a small plot up near Cedar Rapids, government land grant he never claimed after the war. Thought it was worthless, but I found papers saying it's got value now, maybe for the family. I was too proud to dig it up, too scared of stirring old ghosts. Forgive me for not telling sooner. Use it if you can. Love, Pa." Harold's hands trembled. A deed? From the Dust Bowl era? He remembered the stories, black blizzard swallowing the sky, the family packing up for Detroit. But an unclaimed inheritance? It sparked something in him, a flicker of purpose amid the loneliness. He needed help sorting this out. Evelyn Carter next door. She was sharp as a tack, widowed like him, always poking into town history. Maybe she'd know where to start. Chapter 5: The Neighbor's Wisdom. Evelyn answered the door in her apron, flour on her hands from baking. "Well, Harold Jenkins, to what do I owe this visit? Comin' out of the rain." Her kitchen smelled of cinnamon and apples, a pie cooling on the sill. They sat at the table, and Harold showed her the letter. "Well, I'll be," she said, adjusting her glasses. "Your pa was a quiet one, but this? Sounds like a real piece of history. You betcha we can look into it. I've got friends at the county records office." Evelyn was 70, with a wit that could cut glass and a laugh like wind chimes. She'd lost her husband in Vietnam, raised 3 kids alone, and now volunteered at the library. "Life's too short for sittin' still," she often said. They pored over the letter, Evelyn jotting notes. "First things first. We head to the Historical Society in town. Might have maps from back then." Harold felt a stir of excitement, like the old days planning road trips with Martha. "You reckon it's worth chasin'? Worth it?" Harold, it's your legacy. And besides, gets us out of the house. She winked. I'll drive. Your truck's older than dirt. Chapter 6. The first road trip. The next day dawned clear, the air crisp with fall. Evelyn's Buick purred down Highway 30, cornfields stretching golden on either side. Classic rock played softly, Bob Dylan singing about changin' times. They stopped in Ames for lunch at a roadside cafe. Burgers and fries like the old drive-ins. Remember the A&W root beer stands? Evelyn asked. My Earl and I used to go after dates. Harold nodded. Martha loved those. We'd park and talk for hours. At the State Historical Society, they dug through archives. Dusty ledgers from the 30s, photos of Okies heading west. A clerk helped find records. Yes, a land grant to Harold's grandpa in 1938, unclaimed after the family moved. But where's the deed now? Harold wondered. Might be filed in Cedar Rapids, the clerk said, or lost in some old bank vault. On the drive back, they talked of the Great Depression, how folks bartered for food, the resilience that built the nation. Harold shared stories of his pa working odd jobs. Evelyn of her ma sewing clothes from flour sacks. It was dark when they got home, but Harold felt alive, the mystery pulling him forward like a gentle current. Chapter 7. Deeper into the past. Over the next weeks, Harold and Evelyn made more trips to Cedar Rapids, where they found faded documents at the courthouse. The plot was small, 20 acres, now part of a conservation area, but with historical value. Perhaps it could be reclaimed for a family memorial or donated. Along the way, they visited old friends. In Des Moines, Harold's childhood pal, now in a nursing home, reminisced about the civil rights marches they watched on TV in the 60s. We thought the world was changing fast, he said. Turns out it just keeps turning. Evelyn shared her Vietnam stories, letters from Earl, the anti-war protests. We lost so much, but we kept going. One evening, stopped at a county fair. The smell of apple pie and cotton candy filled the air. They rode the Ferris wheel, laughing at a mishap when Harold dropped his hat. Clumsy as ever, Evelyn teased. The quest's woven reflections, World War II victories, the boom of the 50s, the struggles of the 70s oil crisis. Harold saw his life in context, a thread in America's tapestry. But the mystery deepened. Why had Pa hidden it? Clues pointed to shame. Grandpa had borrowed money he couldn't repay, fleeing the Dust Bowl ghosts. Chapter 8. The Revelation. Back home, digging through more attic boxes, Harold found a journal, Pa's from the 40s. Entries spoke of regret. Leaving the land, pushing Harold into factory work for stability, denying him college dreams. I wanted more for him, Pa wrote, but fear held me back. The Dust Bowl taught me caution, but maybe too much. Harold sat stunned. His own choices mirrored it, sticking to the plant, urging his kids to safe jobs, straining their bonds. Sarah had wanted to be an artist, but he'd pushed accounting. Mike dreamed of travel, but Harold preached security. The revelation hit like a quiet storm. His regrets surfaced. Missed birthdays, arguments with Martha over money. The inheritance wasn't land. It was understanding the cycle of sacrifice. Tears came rare for him. He picked up the phone, dialing Sarah. Dad? Everything okay? I need to talk, honey. About the past. Chapter 9. The Heartfelt Call. The conversation lasted hours. Sarah listened as Harold poured out the story. The letter, the quests, his regrets. I pushed you too hard like Pa did me. Thought I was protecting you. Dad, I know. But it's not too late. She shared her own struggles, job stress, missing family. Come visit. Bring the grandkids' stories. Harold hung up lighter. Evelyn stopped by later. You did good, Harold. Confronting the past ain't easy. They shared pie, talking softly. The climax wasn't dramatic, just a man facing himself, finding grace and forgiveness. Chapter 10. New Beginnings. With the mystery resolved, The land donated to a historical park in the family's name. Harold found purpose. He volunteered at the local history museum, sorting artifacts, sharing tales with school groups. "Kids today need to know where we came from," he'd say, showing Dust Bowl photos. The work filled his days, connecting him to the community. Evelyn joined too, their friendship blooming into quiet companionship. Walks in the park, suppers together. Chapter 11, Family Ties. Sarah visited with the grandkids, a weekend of laughter. Harold taught little Timmy to garden, told stories of the old days over ice cream. Video calls became regular, mentoring from afar. Advice on school, life lessons wrapped in humor. One mishap. Trying to fix the porch swing, Harold hammered his thumb. "Darn it all," he muttered. The kids giggled. Evelyn bandaged it with a grin. "You're fixin' to keep me busy." Chapter 12, Quiet Wisdom. As winter approached, Harold sat on his porch, watching leaves fall like golden rain. The town bustled with harvest festivals, the air sweet with cider. He'd found joy in the small things. Community, family, the beauty of slowing down. Life wasn't about high adventures, but the gentle ones. Rediscovering roots, mending bonds, embracing age with grace. America's heartland had taught him resilience, the value of hard work. And in his twilight years, Harold Jenkins knew his best days weren't behind. They were right here in the quiet wisdom of now.